white and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your kind of fix of the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
It's a ball draw at Brunton Park as Walsall and United cancel each other out. We look back on that stalemate with the Saddlers in Cumbria, while previewing this weekend's trip down the M6 to face big spending Salford City at the Peninsula Stadium. I tell you what, Dan, I picked a good game to miss, didn't I?
Yeah. It was one of those. If they played, the classic, if they played to midnight, you'd be lucky if there was a goal. It was just dour.
Well, obviously, as I've probably mentioned already, I was
onto this weekend.
yeah, but obviously, I was at the Hertha Berlin v Cologne game, Cologne for those who don't speak German. And yeah, I was sort of I ummed and ahhing about, should I just pay for the iFollow and I can sort of keep an eye on it while I'm at the game? But I thought, no, I want to concentrate on the Hertha game and actually enjoy it. So I was sort of just watching for the. I wasn't even listening. I was watching for the tweet alerts and stuff coming through, and it was so few and far between, wasn't it? There was not much big action in there, really, was there? And,
no.
Come out very, very happy after the Hertha Cologne game. We might talk about that a little bit later, actually, my little trip to Germany, because both me and you love going over to Germany to watch football, don't we, Dan? We can talk about some of the good things to do with that, because there isn't going to be much to talk about from the Carlisle game, it's fair to say. Let's get straight into it then. Let's do this is the usual bit where we talk about the sponsors and how you can find out about us on social media.
We're very proud to say that once again this season the podcast has been sponsored by the Carlisle United Sports Club London branch. The London branch is open to all Carlisle United fans. They've got members from Cornwall to Dundee and Houston to Singapore, and of course every part of London and the South East. They regularly meet up on away trips as well as arranging many social events, sports games and fundraising for the club. They'll be providing us with information for the away games as part of the preview section this season too. You can find out more about the London branch at their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org. Just a reminder also, if you don't already, please do subscribe to the podcast. You can do that on any good podcast app, wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pocket Casts, any good podcast app. If you just search for the Brunton Bugle, click subscribe, and then every time a new episode comes out, you will get it straight into your inbox. And if you don't already, please do follow us on social media. We're on Twitter at Brunton Bugle, same address on Instagram at Brunton Bugle. If you search for the Brunton Bugle on Facebook and click like, you can follow us there. And we're also on the Be Just On Fear Not Facebook group, which is a fantastic community. Over 3,000 people in there. Would recommend joining it, definitely. We're on the companies.net message board, and you can find us on email, bruntonbugle@gmail.com. Okay, Dan, with all that out the way, it's time to get into the news section. A couple of little bits of news this week, actually, isn't there? We've had some quiet weeks recently, but a couple of bits to cover. First of all, news of a departure from the, is it coaching setup, would you say? Or is it more like the medical department, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, medical department. It's part of the wider coaching, isn't it?
Yeah. So obviously news broke earlier this week that United will be on the hunt for a new physio, as Ross Goodwin is set to leave the club soon to take over a new role at an unnamed Scottish side. Goodwin joined the Blues from Kilmarnock in July 2020, replacing long-serving physio Neil Dalton, and the club have confirmed that an advert will be going out for the role shortly. So yeah, a bit of a blow to lose him. I suppose it's easing up at least a bit in the injury room right now, so it's not quite as bad, is it? But yeah, a little bit of a shame to see Ross go.
Yeah. Interesting to see who puts in.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting indeed. I mean, there's always plenty of up and coming people that trained up to be physio and stuff, isn't there? And yeah, quite a few former players tend to go for it now these days, don't they, actually, as well, just to keep themselves in the game, possibly. So, because I remember that lad we nearly signed from Doncaster years ago, Greg Blundell?
Yeah.
Him? I think he's a physio these days somewhere. I'm not 100% sure where. It might even be Tranmere, actually, but I'm not sure. So, yeah, United are going to be looking for a new physio soon. Other bit of news, half-season tickets are going on sale. Interesting one, this, Dan. It's caused a little bit of debate among a few people on Twitter. There's some people claiming that it's insulting to full season ticket holders because the offer they're getting is cheaper than what some full season ticket holders are getting. Not all season ticket holders, it should be pointed out.
It's only cheaper if you only got one of the 2 game saving ones.
Yeah.
So the majority of season ticket holders will have been either early bird renewal or 4-game renewal.
Yeah.
And they've still got it cheaper. So
Exactly. I thought that was a bit over the top, some of the reactions to that this week, but most fans seem quite happy that. And I think it's great because let's say you get a good 250 signed up for that next season. If they're hooked and think this is brilliant, they sign up next season and suddenly you're well over 2,000 season ticket holders for home games, aren't you?
I think it starts on Boxing Day, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, a great game to start with. Home against Bradford, with a big crowd as it is, you reckon?
Yeah. So it's a ideal Christmas present sort of thing,
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I think it's really good, and I know they've done it in the past, but they seem to be giving it a bit more of a push this season, don't they? Because in the past it's kind of quietly half season ticket sales are going on now. You don't need to know. Whereas now they're like, yes, come and get your half season tickets, come down and support the Blues and back Simo. So yeah, good to see the club doing that. Quick loan watch roundup then before we have to talk about United against Walsall. Good weekend for a couple of the players, wasn't it, Dan? I think it's fair to say. Start off with Max Kilsby. What a great weekend for Annan, eh?
Yeah, really good win up at Stirling Albion, who have been going really well.
A second in the table, weren't they, going to this game, Annan? Stirling, sorry.
This is how tight it is. Annan were second bottom a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
I think they've got a game in hand, and if they win a couple, they can be third or fourth. That's what happens in these smaller sized leagues. It's
only towards the end of the season
games
that it starts to spread out a bit more, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah.
And sometimes you get one team that runs away with it, like a Celtic Heart or something like that. But no, yeah, really good win, 2-0 win, a clean sheet as well, which is good for Max as a defender. And obviously, as you mentioned there, next weekend they're actually at home against Elgin City. Now they are fourth at the moment, so if they win that, they'd go level on points with Elgin, and obviously with that game in hand, potentially they can go.
Sorry, they don't. I've just looked. They don't have one in hand.
Sorry, they must have played it.
When I last looked, it hadn't quite updated. But
right.
they're in 7th on 16, and there's 3 teams on 19, and East Fife and further on 21. So, win 3 on the belt, you jump up 4 places.
Exactly. So yeah, there's every chance they could push themselves up the table, and again, good to see Max getting a bit of game time because he was out of the team for a little bit, wasn't he? But he seems to have pinned down a place now. Not so good for the other lad north of the border, Lewis Bell. Another full 90 minutes for him, which is good news, but once again a defeat of Gretna. They lost 2-1 at Hearts B, which drops them to 16th in the table. They don't actually have a league fixture now until Saturday the 3rd of December when they play Cowden Beef. It's weird to think of Cowden Beef outside the Scottish Football League, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Been the East of Scotland, not East of Scotland, the South of Scotland League, but there you go. So bit frustrating there for Lewis, but again, another game under his belt. No game for Sam Fishburne this weekend. Morpeth actually lost 3-0 at Nantwich Town, but Sam wasn't involved in that game. This weekend they travel to Cheshire to take on Warrington Rylands. And finally, Lewis Boyd. This was a really big one for Carl City. They've been on a bit of a stinking run, haven't they, Dan? And they won 3-2 at Pickering Town this weekend. Now, Pickering was second bottom, so you think, oh, well, that's still they should be expected to win that. But Carlisle only had 11 players available for this game, didn't they?
Yeah, I think the game had been switched. Like, I think they were meant to be at home originally, and then they were away. And due to commitments of lads, at that level, lads have stuff on, and I think they literally had the bare 11 sort of thing.
So it's
pretty good result.
Really impressive, and by all accounts, Lewis made some really good saves in this game. So again, he's got 9 appearances now, playing it, in the pyramid as well. So that's really good for him. As a lad who's still only 17, 18, isn't he? So fantastic stuff for Lewis. Right, well, we've put it off long enough, Dan. Let's talk about it then. Carlisle United 0, Walsall 0. Not one for the ages, is it fair to say? Although, from watching the extended highlights, there was still plenty of chances. You do see some of these games where there's no chances at all. But the thing that stands out for me is neither keepers really had a save to make, have they?
No.
Yeah.
No. There was chances, but actual solid on-target ones, there was very little.
I think there was one that Hurley had to push over the bar, wasn't there? And I think for I'm not sure their keeper.
He wasn't overly stretched.
No, certainly
the size of him,
Yeah, I think there was one where their keeper had to tip over a header from back that looped and bounced over him nearly, but that I think is about it for both keepers really in terms of serious saves to make. How do you look at this one, Dan? Do you look at it as a sort of missed opportunity, or do you think Walsall were really flying? They were second in the form table going into this game, coming off the back of a really impressive win against Wycombe Wanderers in the FA Cup. Do you almost take a step back sometimes and have to say, okay, actually, that's not the worst result in the world to pick up?
I think it was two similar teams who almost cancelled each other out.
Yeah.
And obviously we play them next week in the Cup. I think it was quite a good indicator of, when we drew Walsall, a lot of people were like, oh, we'll win that. Well, they're not a bad team, and they're actually quite strong at home. They don't concede many, they don't score many either. They've been on a good run, they haven't lost in the league for a month, so, I think it was maybe a little bit, what was that other game earlier in the season where was it Rochdale?
Oh, yes.
Where we'd had the run of games and we just looked slightly tired. I wonder if the Harrogate game midweek possibly drained us a little bit. No, was it the Mansfield game or the Rochdale game? I can't remember.
Ooh, maybe the Mansfield. There was definitely a guy. I know what he's talking about.
Crew. Sorry, it was Crew.
Absolutely right, yes.
Yeah,
similar to that.
Because we'd been away at Newport and Grimsby prior to it, hadn't we?
Yeah.
And I thought it was quite similar to that. We'd been away to Stockport, we'd been away to Tranmere. Yes, we had Tranmere in the Cup, but then we'd been away to Harrogate. And I think it was just one of them where it was just the end of a little run of matches. We've got injuries in and out. Some players are playing every minute. I think it was just a little combination of stuff. And I think Simo's probably been quite glad of a clear midweek because the Cumberland Cup game got called off midweek because Penrith was waterlogged. So you'd have had a good solid week with them, let them rest, build them up again, and hopefully ready to go.
You say let them rest. He made it very clear it wasn't a week off, didn't he, in his post?
Oh yeah, I don't mean sit on the couch, but certainly tailored his training to.
Some managers like that though, don't they? They like having. They say sometimes, as much as it's great to have all these games coming. Sometimes you need to have a good week working with them on the training ground, working through your tactics, making sure you're solid in knowing what you're doing. And that might really benefit us actually at the moment because we've been a bit stop-start with players coming in and out and things like that. But now we're sort of getting down to a solid squad. I mean, well let's talk now about the team selection. No big surprise, John Mellish coming back into the starting 11. We all expect that because we missed him very badly against Harrogate. He replaced Whelan and Jordan Gibson also came in place of Christian Dennis, as Simo's mentioned. We're sort of managing a calf issue with him at the moment a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, this was the first time, I think, this season he had the luxury of leaving two players out of the matchday squad going into a game, which is quite incredible when you think about it, isn't it? All season we've not really been able to.
I think when I look back at the game, I think Taylor Charters obviously deserved to start because he scored a cracking goal midweek and he's played 2 or 3 games. But when you look at Walsall's defenders, they're solid League Two defenders, they're big lads.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was just the wrong game for him to start. But on the flip, it would have been harsh to drop him after he scored,
Yeah, it's a tough one to judge, isn't it? And obviously,
you look at Walsall's back line. You've got Manny Monty, he's a big lad.
Yeah.
You don't get much change out of him.
No.
They're not brilliant players, but they're good at what
good League
they
Two
do.
players.
Good, solid League Two players.
Yeah.
They have Donovan Daniels beside him, who's another big lad. Hayden White obviously was on loan here. He knows his way around this division. Look in front of them, Comley seems to have settled there.
Yeah.
The other lad, Maddox, had a decent game for them. They're a solid, well-drilled, strong side, and I just sort of think Charters and Gibson maybe couldn't handle the physicality a little bit.
Yeah, I've got Gibson.
We've not been too harsh on them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I've got Gibson down as a talking point for later on, actually, so maybe we'll discuss him shortly. In terms of the chances, it's hard to pick many out. I watched the extended highlights, and there's some okay. So, there was one long range shot from Maddox from them that went whistle just past the post. Guy had a couple of long ranges. The main one that stands out for us is the Charters one. Now, when I read this on social media and a few posts said as if he'd missed a really easy chance, I look back, he should hit the target, yes, but it's not like a gilt-edged, he should be scoring from their chance, in my opinion, personally. No. I think you should at least make the keeper work, shouldn't you? But he had 5 defenders in front of him as he took the shot, so it wasn't as easy as it was made out to be, I feel. But I don't know if you've got a different thought on that, Dan.
I think it was a decent effort, but I don't think it was ever a cast. Should have been a goal.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's sort of tied in with the game, really.
Yeah. Only other chance I could sort of pick up. We had a lot of chances first half by looks of things. It looks like we mostly dominated, bar an early chance for them. Jack Armour had one on the turn that was blocked and went out for a corner, but there was another incident where Armour was clean through on goal, and their lad shoved him over, and the ref gives nothing. And then all we get is a corner from the ball when it's cleared away. Now, you'll have seen this in normal time from the B stand rather than from the side where the camera is. There's a lot of calls of people saying, "Oh, should have been red card." I think if he gives it, I think it's a yellow card. I don't know if because I feel like the defender's coming over and covering for him.
Was it in or out the box? I can't remember.
It was outside the box. It was a good.
It was outside
4
the
or 5
box.
yards.
Yeah. It was sort of by the D, wasn't it? So
yeah,
if it is obviously if it's in the box, it's penalty and yellow card because you can't get double jeopardy now, can you? So
well, unless you're making no attempt to get the ball. And there's an argument if you're shoving someone over, you're not making an attempt to get the ball.
Well,
so
true. But maybe it would have been a free kick, and we got the corner, didn't we?
Yeah.
So it's 6 and 2 frees, isn't it? It's I mean, we don't like to talk about referees, but we always seem to. He wasn't the best.
Well, Simmer made some comments.
He certainly wasn't as bad as the Leighton Orient one. But...
No. I've seen some comments Simmer's made about grappling in the box on corners and stuff, didn't he, after the game? Was that in relation? Was he particularly poor on that?
You would have thought Walsall had done a manual handling course prior to the game. I think that would be the fairest comment because there was certainly hands-on. And I do believe there was a bit of a thing that referees can be a bit more lenient, but they seem to have gone completely the other way, as in anything goes now. Yeah. I mean, some of it was like a cross between Hulk Hogan and Conor McGregor. There's proper grapples going on, and you're like, there's got to be a bar somewhere. I mean, the problem is each referee will have a different interpretation of what's 50-50 and what's downright choke slam,
Yeah, exactly. Any stand-up performers for you in this game in terms of the individual performances? Owen Moxon, I should say, got the WhoScored.com Starman 7.7 he got in this game. He continuing to get very good scores in every game this season, pretty much.
No one really stood out massively. And I mean, plus point, clean sheet, didn't concede. Mellish slotting back in easily. I thought all the defence weren't too bad because they had a bit of a shocker at Hadgate, didn't they? They weren't. Yeah, they wasn't the best night. Wasn't the best night, but nobody really stood out for me. It was very much a 6 out of 10 all round. Yeah. I thought, as I've alluded earlier, Charters and Gibson, maybe Walsall a little bit more physical for them because certainly Gibson is one of our smaller players. I mean, running up against them big lumps, he was always going to have a hard afternoon. But
just before we move in to talk about Gibson in a sec, but just a note, I've just gone on WhoScored.com and that's they put together all the statistics over the season, work things out. In terms of League Two player statistics, the top performer in the division at the moment this season is Sam Hoskins, number 1 with 7.55 rating. Second place, Owen Moxon, 7.41. So apparently second best player in the division. So
it's the first best, isn't he? So
yeah, in our opinion, definitely. Yeah. Andy Cook and Elliot Water both in the top 10 as well. I mean, no surprise with Andy Cook. He's scoring for fun.
No, he's having a good season, isn't he?
He's having a great season. Let's talk then about Jordan Gibson. It sounds like he was just a little bit off the pace, and it's hard to judge this game because I wasn't there, so I'm sort of trying to tease it out of you here a little bit, I suppose, in that sense. But looking at the stat, it does suggest that he struggled a bit, and his impact on matches has dropped off just a little bit of late. He seems to be struggling to make an impact. Do you think he maybe needs just that little bit of a rest, maybe, to recharge his batteries and just be used as an impact sub?
I think I don't want to say imminent, but certainly Hilton made the bench and Devitt's not far off. I think a little bit of healthy competition will help him.
Yeah.
Because he's pretty much a starter, isn't he?
Yeah.
But if we've got them two fit, wanting to get minutes into them, it'll maybe G him up a little bit and think, oh, hang on, these two are back, they can play my position, let's notch it up a bit.
I suppose this was more of a 3-4-3, wasn't it, again, in that Charters and Gibson either side of Edmondson almost. And Gibson's best performance this season. There's occasional games where he moves to the wing during the game and he makes an impact, but he's not really impressed when he started on the wing. I think his best games have been playing as that number 10 almost, just behind your front two. Obviously, we couldn't do that in this game because Dennis, Stretton and Joe Silver weren't fit enough to start alongside Edmondson. So I do wonder maybe if this weekend you bring in one of Dennis or Stretton to play alongside Edmondson, and then you can put Gibson into that role, and maybe you do rest Charters. So now he's had his little run in the team, but he's shown, he'll be on the bench. I'm sure he'll make an impact from the bench. So maybe that's the way you change it, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Patrick back on grass this week by all accounts. So
that's good.
He's stepping up. I would imagine he'll still be 2 or 3 weeks away. But like I said, we've got a rearranged game in the Cumberland Cup where I think likes of Barkley and Devitt we're going to get a few minutes, and we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, I was mentioning there, Moxon got the Starman thing. Interesting, Simo in the week, didn't he, say that they're not discussing new contracts with any players at the moment. I do wonder if that's sort of a little bit of a distraction sort of thing to say we're not talking about them, but actually behind the scenes they are.
To be fair with Moxon, he's on a 2-year, and I think he's got an option as well.
I don't know if there is an option. I'll have to check on that, but I don't remember there being one announced when he signed. But I could be wrong on that one. So I'll double check while we're talking.
Definitely on a 2-year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's one of those ones that if he hasn't got the option, surely they've got to be looking to sort something in the new year, the latest, surely.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah, that's the. Oh, no, let me hear. Right, I've got it open now. 2-year deal, no mention of an option in the article. So
man, they don't always mention them, do they?
Yeah, they tend to like to keep people happy, don't they? But it may well be they've kept it secret. I don't know. But,
odd bods like us, you mean?
Yeah, well that's true, that isn't it?
Yeah.
A couple more bits, Dan, and any bits you want to drop in after. The back Ellis debate. Now, this is one I've seen a few people talking about online. I think it's on the club's Facebook page especially, and I think some on the message board as well. I think it's worth a discussion. Some fans seem to think we should be starting Ellis over back, as he's our own player, and we should be developing him ahead of someone else's player. What's your thoughts on this one?
It's a hard one, isn't it? It would be a manager. Because throw into the hat, you'll also have Joel Senior coming back shortly as well. So, and they're all quite similar age as well, aren't they? Yeah. Back's probably we won't count Senior at the moment because he's still coming back from injury, but back's probably the senior one, despite Ellis being our player. We don't know if there's anything in his contract about certain minutes and that. Some clubs do, some clubs don't. So we can't speculate on that. It's a hard one, isn't it? It really is.
My opinion on this is pretty straightforward. You pick the best player out of the two. And for me, as well as Jack Ellis has done, and he's done brilliantly for a young lad who's coming through. He's not really a right wing back. He's more of a centre back. I still don't think he's as good as Finn Back. I think Finn Back is the better player of the two, and no matter what situation you're in, you can talk about, we wanted to. Simo's first thought's got to be, I've got to put my best 11 out here. Not, I can put this lad in and develop him a bit more, and that'll help me in the long term. It's always, you've got to, as a manager, think short term. So for me, Finn Back's, at the moment, start every week because he is the better player of the two of them. And that's not a slight on Jack Ellis, because Jack Ellis has been brilliant, and he will, long term, will be a good player for us. But
I think long term, Jack Ellis could certainly be our right man in a free.
Because I think he could do a similar role to Mellish in that, because he's shown he can bring the ball out and come forward. Because Feeney doesn't do that as much, which is fine, because that's not the kind of defender he is. But
without disrespecting Paul Huntington, he's not the youngest player in the squad. And I know Simo's talked about him possibly playing for 2 or 3 years, etc. If everything goes well, long term, you would like to think that when Huntington does hang his boots up or move on, that Feeney could move in the middle, and you could have Ellis and Mellish, providing they're both still here, and that would be a pretty competent back three who will have all played a lot of games together for quite a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
no, it's a fair point. But it'd be interesting to see what some other fans think on that. I've seen not a lot, but I've seen a few people making that point. But for me, you always pick your best player out of the two, whether it's and for me at the moment, Finn is the best player of the two. That's just the way it is. One other point I've spotted is now it's about suspensions. Now my understanding is the 19th league fixture you play is the cut-off point for your 5 bookings, isn't it, Dan? I'm pretty sure that's what it is these days.
Yeah.
We've got 2 players currently sitting on 4 bookings, which is Jack Armour and Jaden Harris. Now, I'm not sure whether they both will count though, because one of Armour's bookings came in the FA Cup, and one of Harris's came in the FA Cup, and one of his also came in the trophy. I think trophy ones don't count. I might be wrong on that one, but it's weird because red cards don't in the trophy, do they? They only count towards the trophy. Bookings, it's not very clear as to how that actually works.
I will. I'll have a look over the weekend for next week, and whether it's me or Mike, depending obviously on our work and that, I will do a little segment trying to explain it all.
Yeah,
because it is complex, as with trophy reds
and I'm sure it's got more complicated in recent seasons, because the FA Cup used to just be counted as part of your league suspensions, didn't it? Which we found out it wasn't when John Mellis didn't miss the game against Tranmere. So yeah, interesting to see what happens to that. Anything else you want to talk about from this game, Dan? I'm guessing no, because it wasn't
not really. No.
I think we've covered quite a bit there, to be fair, considering it was a 0-0. Quick League 2 roundup then, Dan. Just looking through some of the results. Crawley Town picking up a little bit of form, aren't they? Nice little win for them against Barrow. A 1-0 victory. More on that one later on in the X-Files section.
I heard Pete Wild whinging post-match about decisions, diddums.
Nothing changes there, does it?
Yeah. Solid wins for Orient and Northampton.
Yeah, I mean,
Orient, especially after getting beat at Wimbledon midweek.
Yeah, and a good result for Bradford at Sutton as well. Bradford and Northampton play each other this weekend. That'll be a hell of a game, that one, won't it?
Yeah.
That should be a really good game. And I think there could be some quite big crowds, couldn't they, in League 2 this weekend, actually. With obviously with the Premier League and that being off now, and the Championship due to the World Cup.
We've sold out.
Yeah, we have indeed, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the interesting one is that...
over 1,300.
Have you seen in the National League... Notts County have got a sellout for their home game.
16,000 or something mad.
That is incredible, isn't it? It shows how big our pyramid is, doesn't it, really, in terms of, you can get a club in fifth tier getting crowd like that.
Fifth tier getting 16,000. It's
astonishing, isn't it? Absolutely astonishing. I mean, look, obviously looking through these again, against Stevenage, another good, a 1-0 win at home against Hartlepool. In fact, did you see the goal in this game, I should say?
No, I didn't see many highlights last week.
So the Stevenage goal was a repeat of the Hallam Hope goal against Notts County, where the
yes, sorry, I have seen it. It popped up on my Twitter.
Danny Rose. Now,
I didn't take note of what team it was. I saw it on Twitter, and I think it was maybe a Carlisle fan had retweeted saying, Hallam Hope again.
But what I would say about this, it should have been disallowed because he's hiding behind the line in the net. And that technically is leaving the field of play without the referee's permission. So he should have actually been booked. It should have been disallowed. Hallam Hope, if you watch back, I don't think Hallam Hope actually ever leaves the field on his goal. So that his was perfectly legal. All round pretty decent for the top teams. I mean, down the bottom, Hartlepool and Colchester look in desperate states, don't they? When you look at it, they're really, really struggling at the bottom.
Yeah, they're struggling. Yeah.
I mean, it's still quite tight. Harrogate on 13, which, I mean, I'm surprised they're right down there because I was quite impressed when we played them. It might just be we had an off night, but, I mean, Hartlepool, they won last week, but they've, looking at it other than that, 5 defeats in the last 6. 4 defeats in the last 6 for Colchester.
I think Hartlepool need to make a decision on the management situation because Mr. Curl was only ever semi-temporary, wasn't he?
Yeah. And I'm looking here, Gillingham, we've got the least number, joint least number of wins in the division. Their big problem is they just draw too many games. They don't concede that many, but God, I mean, I'm looking actually here. They've got one of the better defences in the division. They've conceded the same number of goals as us, 19, but they've only scored 6. 6 in 17 games is astonishingly poor attack. But we thought that when we played them, we weren't very impressed with them at all, so there you go. Right, should we take a little break, Dan? And then we'll be back to look ahead to the Salford game.
Hi, I'm John Halpin, and you're listening to the Brunton Bugle.
Ooh, we've got a new one there, Dan, haven't we?
Oh,
that's a little teaser. Yes, that is indeed.
Well-deserved presentation by the PFA at half-time in the Walsall game. That was probably my highlight of the match.
Yes, that's the reason I put it in, to be fair, because I remember seeing all the pictures from that. I thought, well, let's give Halpy a little shout-out.
Yeah.
That may well be a hint to an upcoming interview that may be appearing on the pod very soon.
Yeah.
Might even stick that before the weekend for you.
I was going to say we need to drop the Chrissy and Dennis one. People have been asking me for it.
No, I'm sorry. I
promised it the other week.
I need to tweak the sound on it because without boring everyone with the technical side of it, the way I had to record it, I recorded it with my actual podcast mic. I recorded the interviewee, which was Dennis, Holy, Moxon, and Halpy. I've been recording my voice using my phone because I don't have a second mic in the setup I've got. Trying to improve that and get a setup where we've got 2 mics that are separate in the future because it was.
I've actually got the second mic, but he didn't. Yeah. He forgot to say and forgot. I could have dropped it off.
To be fair, I actually looked at this and I couldn't even use both mics because the system I use doesn't let you use both, which is annoying and stupid. But I've got another backup system that I'm hoping to sort out in the new year. So future interviews, the ones done in person at least, we'll be able to do it properly. So there you go. Right, well, let's look ahead to the game then, Dan. No behind enemy line section this week because Salford City don't have any online fans, very much like Harrogate. It's ridiculous, these teams coming up from the National
League. We do have a quiz question, though.
Oh, go on then. You give us the quiz question for this week's pod.
It's a Carlisle and Salford themed question.
Uh-huh.
Salford City came into the league in 2019. Since they came into the league, 6 players have played for them who have also played for Carlisle United. Now, these players could have played before 2019, since 2019. It doesn't matter when, but they've played for Carlisle United and for Salford City in the league. Now, Richard Narty will not be accepted because he was only on trial here.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right, let me have a think about this one, Dan.
There's 2 obvious ones.
Oh, Ashley Eastham, the obvious one, and Elliot Watt, the 2 that are currently there. Was Martin Smith one? Was he there still then?
Yes, Martin Smith counts.
Okay, so that's. Do you say there's 5 in total?
6.
6.
So you're halfway there.
Okay. Who else has been at Salford in that time? Simon Grandin long left by then, hadn't he?
Yeah, Grandin Livesey had left by the time they came into the league. Livesey actually left the summer they got promoted.
Yeah, but he was on loan somewhere else, wasn't he, I think, before that. So
yeah.
Who else then? So these players have been at Salford since they've been in the league, but they played for Carlisle before then.
Well, before or after. Yeah, they've played for us at some point.
After's it? You throw me a curveball there. He's the one who's played for us since then.
Didn't play many games for them.
No, this is annoying me now. Wait, hang on. You're not counting George Tanner, are you?
I think I forgot to put Tanner on the list.
Well, Tanner didn't actually play a game for Salford.
He didn't actually play. That's why I didn't put him on. Yeah,
there you go. So that's why I was thinking.
Because he enjoyed the game down there, didn't he?
He did indeed.
Yeah.
I'm struggling. There's someone really obvious I've missed there, I'm sure.
Yeah, one of them's quite obvious, but he only played 3 games.
For Salford, is that all for us?
Yeah.
For Salford.
Now, what sort of position sometimes comes in and only plays 2 or 3 games?
Oh, it's going to be a goalkeeper, isn't it?
Yes.
Is it Max Crocombe?
No, he'd left.
He'd left by then, hadn't he? Oh,
Yeah.
Goalkeeper. Well, Thomas Hurley didn't play there. Did Paul? No, is it? No, not Magnus Norman.
No.
Why am I struggling to think of a goalkeeper who's played there? Someone who's... I can't get it. I'm struggling with the goalkeeper. Who is it?
Do you want me to tell you?
Go on.
Mark Howard.
Mark Howard. Oh, that should be an obvious.
Played 3 games.
All right, okay.
2 more on the list. Both were loanees to Carlisle. I'll give you that much.
Loanees to Carlisle. Struggling. I really am struggling on this one. Give me positions. Go on.
A striker and a midfielder. Well, sometimes plays defence.
Oh, not Geffen Jones. Geffen Jones wasn't there, was he? No.
No.
Midfielder who plays defence.
Didn't do much for us.
Oh, that's helpful. No, I'm trying to think here. Not on top of my head, right? So he was on loan to us, did you say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would he be? This is making for great listening for the listeners, isn't it, I suppose. We're trying to work this out.
He had a really, really good season after he was at Carlisle.
Really good season after he was at Carlisle.
Really good season. Scored loads of goals.
It's not Paddy Madden.
No.
He's never been there. This is really annoying me. I can't work it out in my head.
And his first name's Josh.
Josh. Oh, Josh Morris.
Yes.
Oh, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And there's a striker left. I think this is a hard one, to be fair.
Striker. I'm going to have to try and rack my brains this one. Try and keep this as quickly as possible. Striker. Okay. This really is making great listening, isn't it?
He still plays, but not in this country.
Not in this country. Oh, okay.
He actually plays in Finland now.
Oh my God, this is going to be someone really random. Oh wait, hang on. Is it Jake Jervis?
It is, yes.
Yes, I just remember then.
The king of the loan move.
Yeah, I just remember because when you said Finland straight, I was like, I'm pretty sure he's playing abroad now, isn't he? Well, that was a bit of a shift. So
he had about 8 loan moves when he was at. He had about 8 loan moves when he was at Birmingham.
Yeah,
and I think he went to Turkey, didn't he?
Yeah,
and he went. He was up in Scotland, and then he really settled at Plymouth for a few years, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he was at Salford on loan from Luton.
Yeah, was it 3 goals in 5 games he scored for us?
He plays for something like that. Yeah, he had a good little spell.
Yeah, surprisingly good. Let's go and give us the full list before we move on, Dan.
So that's Ashley Eastham, Elliot Watt, Mark Howard, Jake Jervis, Martin Smith, and Josh Morris.
Well, there you go.
And like we said, Narty and Tanner do not count.
Yes, indeed. Right, well, let's get on then, Dan. So for this weekend's game, referee is Sonny Gill. This is Sonny's first season as an EFL referee. He's become the first Sikh referee in the EFL since his dad, Jarnail Singh, over a decade ago. Taking charge of 14 games so far this season, handing out 49 yellows and 1 red card. Last season he handed out 64 yellows and 1 red card in 16 National League
Was
games.
he not on the line in one of our games this season?
Well, no, he was supposed to. This is the first time he's refereed a United game. He was actually meant to be the referee for the game against Harrogate, the original one that was called off.
That got called off for the Queen, yeah.
He couldn't do the original one. He was also 4th official for one of the games as well. I can't remember which one, but he was definitely 4th official at some point as well.
No, I knew I'd seen his name at some point this season.
Yeah. Head-to-head wise, it's going to be the sixth meeting between the two sides, and United are just ahead at the moment with 2 wins to the Ammies, 1 win, and 2 games have ended in draws. Looking at Salford's squad and their summer activity, Dan, they were quite quiet up till the start of the season, weren't they? I think they'd only signed something like 5 players going into the first week.
They had a bit of a clear out, didn't they? There was a few sort of names disappeared that had been connected with them for a while.
Some big earners in there,
Ash
wasn't there?
Hunter, Matty Willock, Ian Henderson obviously was...
Jordan Turnbull as well.
You know, Luke Burgess, there was a few.
Yeah, did Turnbull end up at Tranmere or something like that, I think, did he? I can't remember.
When they did bring in, though, they got sort of glut of loans all together, didn't they?
Yeah, towards the end.
Some quite good play. Ethan Galbraith for Man United's well rated. Laurent Tollage at Brighton was quite well rated,
But they've had some interesting signs as well. I mean, I'll talk about one I really like in a minute, but the 2 ones they've signed from abroad, well, I mean, that they're a bit sort of left field, aren't they, I suppose, in one sense. Yeah. Stevie Mullen signed from Yeni Malatyaspor. Have I got that? Malatyaspor? Have I pronounced that right?
Sounds about right.
Not. From obviously a Turkish side there. Elliot Simoes from AS Nancy in France as well. Yeah. You've obviously mentioned Richard Narty, who's on trial with United in the summer. He's gone there as well, but another former United player.
He hasn't played much recently. I was looking at him the other day.
No, okay.
He started the season. I think he's dropped out a little bit.
Okay. Elliot Watt's the obvious one, isn't he? Signed on an undisclosed fee from Bradford. Bradford quite happy to sell him by looks of things, and Mark Hughes clearly didn't fancy him. He's one of those players, Elliot Watt. I don't know what you think about this. A lot of our fans are very impressive. I was never that sold on him. I thought he had a very good set piece on him, and he could play a decent pass, but I never got the impression he was really a player who would be up for the fight in League Two. I thought he was a player who probably did quite well in League One, but not.
To be fair, he got stunted by the COVID thing, didn't he, from memory?
Yeah.
Was it that season? Yeah. So obviously the season ended early, but I wasn't. He maybe would have, he maybe wouldn't have. He was all right. He wasn't the worst player, but he certainly wasn't the best.
Because there was a lot of fans who were surprised when he went to Bradford, weren't they, from Wolves? There was a feeling he'd go to a League One club or a Championship club. But the fact that he's 2-3 years later on, he's still playing at League Two level suggests maybe that is his level. Possibly, I don't know. The one that stands out for me, Odin Bailey from Birmingham City. I think that's a really good signing. He looked a very good player for Forest Green Rovers, didn't he, a few years ago when they were really flying in one of the seasons. Not last season, but obviously the season before. And then last season he went on loan to Livingston in the SPL and did quite well there, didn't he? I think he got 30-odd appearances for them. So playing with a decent bit of experience behind him, it seems. Any other players stand out in their squad for you?
Not really, but there's one or two who've been there a while still. There's a couple of names that I look at and I think you've been there. Certainly since you've been in the league sort of thing. But they still feel like they're a work in progress.
Yeah.
Even though it's their, fourth season?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
strange. If you look in defence, Ibu Toure is one who's impressed at this level, hasn't he? He's sort of left wing back. He flies up and down the pitch. Ashley Easton, obviously captain, experienced player, done really well for them. Only made the one appearance for us, didn't he? I think?
Yeah, one cap under for us.
It was an FA Cup game against Tamworth, something like that, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was only one game he played for us. In midfield, you've got Jason Lowe, he's got bags of experience, he's a very good player. Yeah. Matty Lund, again, another one who's a very good player for Rochdale, wasn't he, for quite a while? I think did they sign him at the same time they signed Ian Henderson, I think, a couple of years ago?
Possibly, yeah, because Henderson actually got his record Rochdale goal the other week, didn't he?
Against Salford as well, of all teams to score against. In attack, irony there. They've not got that many sort of forwards or strikers, you want to call it that, but they've got some different ones in there, haven't they? Obviously, you mentioned the lad on loan from Brighton, but Conor McElhenney's a player I've always really liked at this level.
Yeah.
Really good player. Not scored as many since he's gone to Salford, but maybe not playing the same sort of role. Callum Hendry come down from Scotland. He's one who, I think he was at St Johnstone, was he at? I think quite a while.
Yeah.
He's a decent enough player. Matt Smith, though, is the obvious one, isn't he? Played at Championship level. Has he played in the Premier League, actually, for Fulham? I can't remember. He was at Fulham, wasn't he? I'm sure he went there, but
yeah.
I mean, he's what, 6'7", isn't he? One of the few attackers this season who'll be able to put sort of pressure on Thomas Holy for corners, isn't he?
Yeah.
So there you go. So yeah, there's quality in there, but it does look a lot tighter squad this season, doesn't it? It's not as it always felt a bit bloated. I always felt very bloated, didn't he? The manager is Neil Wood. Obviously, he's maybe a name fans don't recognise that much, but he started out in Man United's academy years ago as a player, didn't he? Don't think he ever made it. Sort of had a sort of lower league, non-league career, and went back to be the under-23 manager at Man United, and has now got his first sort of full senior role, hasn't he, as a manager?
But he'll be looking over his shoulder because the form's dropped off a cliff, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I mean, I was about to say, their form, they started the season really, because we said, didn't we, when we looked, I think about a month or so ago, maybe a little bit longer, we were all saying to each other, weren't we? Said, oh, this is finally the season they're going to do it, the season where we don't predict them to do well. Typical, that, isn't it? And, they were in the playoffs, but, solid and keeping themselves up there. And they've now gone on a run where they've only won one of their last 9 in all competitions.
There's a lot of low scoring games, a lot of 1-0s, 0-0s, 1-alls, Although, I don't know if you watched any of the game against Peterborough last night.
I mean, I didn't see it, but I watched the highlights and it looked like Peterborough dominated the game.
Peterborough just got in the faces from what I saw. And I've got to mention it. I don't like to belittle crowds, but literally just over 1,000 there, and I think 300 or 400 of them were from Peterborough.
That's poor, isn't it? I mean, there's every chance half the crowd this weekend is going to be Carlisle fans.
Yeah. Well, we've sold out just over 1,300.
Fantastic, isn't it? Amazing support we've had this season. Like, selling out so many away ends so far already is brilliant, and there's still plenty of big ones to come, isn't there? I suppose. And you even look at the AFC Wimbledon away in February. If we're flying, we could take 1,000 easily. Yeah, which would be amazing. Yeah. An amazing support.
On the back of nearly 1,000 at Tranmere, 1,200 at Stockport, 600 for a rearranged at Harrogate, all ticket. It's
exactly
fantastic.
It's amazing, is it, the followings we're getting? But yes, it's a really good opportunity, I think, because I watched that 3-0 defeat against Peterborough, and they looked a bit sloppy in defence in this game. And one thing I noticed that they let Jack Marriott, which again we'll get onto him in X-File section in a second, but he scored a header from a corner. I mean, he's not a big lad. He's only about 5'11", isn't he? I don't think he's even 6 foot. And he got a near post header on a corner. So if we can get a decent delivery to the box, there's every chance.
Him and the other lad who scored with the double barrel name, I forget his name.
Mason Clark.
The pair of them absolutely tortured Salford from what I saw.
Yeah.
I think this could possibly. I'd like to think Stretton could do a similar job. Yeah. He's when he runs, he's actually got a bit of speed on him. I don't think people realise.
Ryan Edmondson's quick as well. For a big lad, he's quite rapid. So there's every chance, we'd stretch them in this game. I think this is one of these games where maybe you keep Christian Dennis on the bench and bring him on later on.
Yeah.
When they've tied a bit. So that's probably the option there. But there you go. So other than that, talking points wise, I mean, we've covered all the points I think I wanted to talk about in terms of Salford. Talk about United. It's looking a lot better, isn't it, in terms of injuries? Suddenly, we've obviously, as you
slowly
mentioned,
cleaning up.
We were able to leave 2 players out of the matchday squad the weekend. Hilton and Idaho were the unlucky men who didn't feature. The one frustrating thing, I suppose, is the fact that still no reserve game for Joel Senior, Ben Barkley, Jamie Devitt and Sonny Hilton to build up a bit of match fitness. Even Toby, get him a... Yeah, also exactly. I completely forgot Toby because he's been playing games.
I'm sure we've actually got a Central League Cup game due as well.
I think that might be this week coming up, actually.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah. So that'd be good to get a bit of...
Because I think the Cumberland Cup game is early December now, about the 5th or 6th, possibly.
Yeah, that would make sense. But yeah. So no, it's good to get. It would be good to get a bit of fitness into their legs. I mean, you're potentially going to have an point soon where you're going to be leaving 5 or 6 players out of the matchday squad, aren't you?
Yeah.
Which is frustrating for those players, but it's where you want to get to, isn't it? Really. So
yeah.
So yeah, would you make any changes to the side that started against Walsall for this one?
I would bring Stretton in for Charters.
You know what? I think I'd agree with that one. I think I'd go with that and go back to 5.
I'd possibly put Gibson on the left for it, with Stretton on the right.
Would you not go back to playing the 3-5-2 and have
you
Gibson
could do.
in midfield?
You could do. And I'd like to see, if it's back in arm, I'd like to see them getting up and basically doing what Peterborough did, and try and bully them a bit, get at them.
Yeah. Definitely. Really go at them from the start. I think that's going to be the key.
And
thing,
then, as you say, bring Dennis on for 25 to snaffle a goal later on.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
Right, let's get on predictions then, Dan. In terms of the prediction table, nothing's changed because none of us predicted a 0-0, shock horror.
Yeah.
So it's still Mike on 6, me on 11 and you on 12. So let's have your prediction for this weekend's game.
I'm going to go for a 2-0 and I'm going to go for Edmondson, and I think Gibson's due one.
Okay. I'm going to go 2-1. And I'm going to go with Huntington and Edmondson to get the other. So here's Mike. He sent in his prediction earlier, so this is what he had to say.
So this week, I'm going to go for a 2-1 win, and I'm going to go for Ryan Edmondson and John Mellish to get our goals.
I thought you were going to pick the same as me there. I was funny thinking he's going to go Edmondson here, isn't he? But there you go. Right, XR section, Dan, to round it up.
Yeah, not massively busy this week, but still a few. James Tavernier scored a penalty for Rangers in the 1-1 draw at St Mirren. Gary Medine scored for Blackpool in the 2-1 defeat at Wigan. Kyle Dempsey got a red card for Bolton in the 0-0 draw at Cambridge. As we alluded to earlier, Andy Cook continued his great run, scored for Bradford in the 2-0 win at Sutton.
Yeah.
Paddy Madden, another who's in decent form, netted the winner for Stockport in the 2-1 at Newport. Ashley Naddison, which again we alluded to earlier, the only goal scorer as Crawley beat Barrow 1-0. A name that hasn't been in for a while and is popping up weekly now.
Yeah.
Jack Bridge scored a penalty for Southend in a 2-0 home win over Dorking.
Southend are flying at the moment, aren't they? They're on a really good run of form.
They went on a good little run, haven't they?
Which, considering they've got a winding up order against them at the moment, it's quite impressive, really, isn't it? But there you go.
I think they've had a winding up order for about 25 years.
Oh, they're a mess of a club, aren't they, really, in terms of off the field.
And Gavin Riley got the opener for Queen of the South, but it was in
not
the
a good day.
got beat 5-1 at Alloa.
Wow.
A couple in midweek. If anyone watched Derby Torquay, they'll have seen Mark Ellis score. Unfortunately, it was in his own net, which didn't really help. Yeah, Derby hammered them 5-0, by far the better team. And as we mentioned, Jack Marriott played well for Peterborough, scored a brace in the 2-0 win at Salford.
3-0.
And one little piece of two, because I found a belter the other night, didn't I?
Oh, yes,
Adam Murray is the new head coach at AFC Fylde. So that'll suit him.
That's quite a step down, isn't it? Assistant manager at Besiktas.
Ex-player.
To that.
Yeah. Random ex-player highlight. Kenise Carroll celebrated his 50th game for Oxford City recently.
I mean, there's a drop-off in thing. And if we go from
Was
Brentford
it Queen's
B...
Park he went to?
He was at Brentford. He was in their B team, because they got a B team set up, haven't they? And
yeah.
And he went there for big money from Oxford as like a 16, 17-year-old, didn't he, I think?
Yeah.
And it's just never been the same since. It's quite sad, really, isn't it?
He went to Swindon on, was it loan? Came to us on loan, and he went to Stevenage, didn't he?
Well, he came to us on loan, got sent off in his first appearance, didn't he? I think pretty much against Swindon out of all clubs as well.
And he played a couple of games for Stevenage, and obviously that season curtailed.
Yeah.
Then he went up to Scotland and played a few games for Queen's Park.
Yeah.
And then he just landed at Oxford City. Obviously, he's from the area, so
Yeah, quite a drop off for that. But there you go.
Yeah.
Right, that's it, Dan. Then I think we've all got it all wrapped up. Thanks once again to our sponsors, the London branch, for their support this season. Always really appreciated. Yeah, I will get those 2 interviews out soon. We'll try and get them out in the next few days. I'll try and maybe get Halpies out before the weekend and Christian Dennis early next week, possibly. We'll definitely sort that out very soon, I promise you that one. But other than that, we'll obviously have a preview of the FA Cup game against Walsall next week. We'll change that one up a little bit. We might try and do something a bit different, because obviously we've already talked about Walsall 2 weeks ago. So it'll be
we have got someone to come on that we've been meaning to get on for a few weeks.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he's available.
Definitely. We'll try and get something sorted. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much, isn't it, Dan, for now?
Yeah.
Don't think I've got anything else to cover. So thanks everyone for listening, and up the Blues.
Up the Blues.